Nic Fuentes is in the news again. He's always in the news. Now, of course, he's the number one most talked about streamer in general, one of the leading media personalities on the American right wing, and specifically, Bill Maher and Lara Trump were talking about him. So Lara Trump went on Bill Maher's podcast, Club Random, and sure enough, you can guess what their opinions are of Nic Fuentes when he came up. So we are going to play that for you. Here we go.
You know, now there are people who I wouldn't have here, like that little prick Nic Fuentes.
That is an unfortunate individual, and I hate that he gets associated so closely with, you know, the MAGA movement, with my father-in-law, with all of this stuff, because
they should denounce him more forcefully.
Well, I mean, maybe you're right, but he is certainly not the.
She hates that he's associated with Trump. It's like he is more Trump. He's more MAGA than Trump. Trump is like, he campaigns on Make America Great Again. He campaigns on America First. And then he's sending billions to Israel. And then he's sending billions to Ukraine. Still, he says the Russian-Ukraine war is going to end within 24 hours of being president-elect. A year later, November 25th today, so a year and some change after he gets elected, and the war is still going on. And it's gotten much worse. In addition to that, he said he would start no new wars, and we bombed Iran, and now we're talking about going into Venezuela and starting a war with them. In addition to that, he promised that he would shut the border down. He's done that, but he also said he was going to do mass deportations, and they stopped publishing the numbers for deportations in January. Do you see the problem? He additionally said that we were going to have a great economy, that we were going to enter a golden age. And besides the price of gas and, I don't know, eggs, it's more unaffordable than ever to buy a home. And it feels like my generation will never be able to afford a home. We'll never be able to afford the American dream and thus start a family and thus reproduce and thus replace the population. Do you see the problem? So Nic Fuentes, on the other hand, is actually talking about this, was inspired by Trump's campaign in 2015, 2016, and has gained a massive following because your father is not doing what he said he would do.
Not the representative that I think any of us
in many ways
should be.
I would hope
front.
The problem, one of the problems with your father-in-law is, like, if anybody likes him, he has a real hard time not liking them.
That's true.
And that has led him to some bad things.
That may be true.
Which, you know what? I'm not the only liberal who said there's enough to attack him for. The thing about fine people on both sides, I mean, even Sam Harris, another liberal, has made the case I've made, like, it's not the full statement.
Of course it's not.
Don't get him on that.
Oh, I'll go all day on that.
I know. And what that is just this thing of him, anybody who likes me, I can't quite denounce. But this Fuentes prick, like, Trump is not Hitler.
No.
I mean, Larry David said I had dinner with Hitler because it was such a bullshit thing.
Yeah.
Trump is not Hitler. This Fuentes kid, that's Hitler.
No, that's.
Oh my gosh, he's not Hitler. And if he's Hitler, then we're all Hitler, and we're not all Hitler. And also, why do we have to all talk about how Hitler is like the worst person in the history of the world? I mean, if that was the case, we would be talking about Genghis Khan, but I guess nobody has a brain that can remember all the way back there. This constant condemnation of Nick, this constant condemnation of the Groypers and anybody that remotely agrees with Nic Fuentes, it's a huge problem because it's a huge problem for them because it's only going to make them bigger. It's only going to grow this movement bigger. It's only going to grow this America First movement. They want to constantly dismiss. But again, these are two out-of-touch adults. These are two adults who are doing quite well. Bill Maher is a millionaire, multi-millionaire comedian, podcaster, talk show host. Lara Trump is part of the Trump family. Her husband, Eric Trump, is the guy now that controls the whole Trump empire. She is along for the ride. She is also out of touch. These people aren't normal Americans. They don't understand how Donald Trump has failed on the process or the promise of MAGA. And how when the government was shut down, they had this giant what's the word I'm looking for? The book, the novel, and the movie. It was DiCaprio and Tobey Maguire. This giant party. I can't get the references. What it is? They had this giant party in Mar-a-Lago, and there's champagne, and there's dancers and wine glasses. That was a little bit weird. It's not very conservative. But they're celebrating. It's all this food and money and big celebration while the government is literally shut down. And it was an ultimate mask-off moment. To everybody in America, when the government was shut down and there was this huge Mar-a-Lago party thrown by Trump, and all of this money being spent and all of this food. We're talking crab, we're talking shrimp, we're talking champagne. It was extravagant. And when it turned out that people's SNAP benefits were being shut off and people couldn't afford to buy groceries, it was the Great Gatsby. You have a Great Gatsby party, and it was an ultimate slap in the face to Americans. Again, these people are out of touch. They don't get it. They don't understand. And Nic gets it. And Nic understands. And all of Gen Z men, most Gen Z men, agree with him. And it's not just men. Women also agree with him. Yes, he could be a little rough around the edges. Who isn't? Yes, people can be a little bit rhetorically difficult sometimes and use language that adults don't understand. But in addition to that, all of Gen Z talks like that. A lot of Gen Z uses these slurs and outrageous language to be edgelords, but like that's the culture. So they don't get it. They don't get it. And it's very unfortunate, but they're going to be shocked in a couple of years when the GOP is literally occupied by America First, by Groypers. It's just what it is. But I had to highlight that because what an insane contradiction. Again, they're condemning Nic Fuentes when Nic Fuentes is carrying out the promises of MAGA. Insane, man. Insane. I have one more thing, and I don't even know if I want to talk about this, but I think I am. We have Erica Kirk. And Erica Kirk